there is a new tell-all from Mad Dog Mattis's speechwriter. His name is Guy Snodgrass, and he's spilling all the tea on Mattis. So,
Interesting.
yes. So, a lot of you conservatives that think, old Mad Dog, yeah, he's in the military. He'd never be with them liberals. Well, they have this thing. They're called political generals. And there have been a lot in history, and some are on the left and some are on the right. I'm not saying that Mattis is some kind of hardcore Antifa liberal, but he's definitely a part of what you would call the ruling class.
Interesting.
So, in this story, this is from Newsbusters. Great website, by the way. It starts off on Tuesday on the new tell-all book by Guy Snodgrass, a speechwriter for former Defense Secretary James Mattis. Wilna highlighted several examples of Mattis digging in to defend Obama's legacy and getting frustrated that Trump kept overturning Obama. And they list a couple things, and I'm only going to really go over one, and then we can talk about a couple things I was thinking about. And you know, any thoughts you had on just people like this in the Trump administration that we find out later ended up being people that actually wanted to stifle Trump?
Well, I think once again, I think it's the nature of a Trump presidency.
Yeah,
Trump is
exactly.
an enigma.
Yeah,
So when you have an island that floats in between two giant countries, no one really knows what the island is going to do. It could drift to the left or to the right.
yeah,
Unfortunately, um, it forces those who we may not be sure of as far as where their allegiance, goes.
yeah,
It shows them up.
yeah. All right. So the first one is the Paris Climate Accords. You may remember that. In a chapter titled Trumped, Snodgrass portrays Mattis and then Secretary of State Rex Tillerson as alarmed as they scrambled to put together Trump's first Pentagon briefing in July 2017. Trump had recently announced that the U.S. would be withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement on curbing climate change. A move, Snodgrass said, was viewed by staff members in the Mattis office primarily as a way to dismantle yet another piece of President Obama's legacy. Mattis had been getting a string of phone calls from allies startled by the Paris Accord pullout, and he and Tillerson both saw the Pentagon briefing as an opportunity to sway Trump. Now, I don't understand what the defense secretary would where in his mind this would fit in under his purview. The Paris Climate Accords, this is climate change. What does this have to do with the defense
Um,
secretary?
yeah, I'm kind of surprised at that too. I mean, when you first started talking about climate change, the first thing that I thought was, what does that have to do?
Yeah.
What does
And
that have to do with?
there's a couple little things in here that always stick out on these three things, and I'll talk about that when I talk about after I talk about the second one. But there's something else I wanted to talk about too. Why are they surprised at what Trump does when he ran on getting us out of the Paris Climate Accords?
Mm-hmm.
So he runs on getting out of the Paris Climate Accords. You sign on to be his defense secretary.
Mm-hmm.
He pulls out of the defense climate accord. He pulls
Mm-hmm.
out of the climate accords, and you go, "What? What's going on? The thing you talked about doing for a year,
You
you're going to
actually
do?"
did it.
And I
Yeah,
think that
I know.
mainly that has to do with the fact that maybe he thought that Trump was all talk.
Yeah,
Could have been that.
yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe he was in there the entire time saying, I my intent is to stop this if he does try to
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm. Hard to know.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to know. Um, Another one was the policy. It's called Policy by Tweet, and this is when he did the transgender ban in the military. And I won't really read through all that, but there's this one point that I wanted to touch on, and it talks about how when Trump tweeted out that he would be banning transgenders from the military, and it talks about how Mattis he wanted to delay that action,
Mm-hmm.
doing a 6-month study of the consequences of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And it was more of a delay tactic so he
Mm-hmm.
can try to stop. Maybe Trump would forget about it, or maybe get lost in the scrum, and he can just keep that thing in place. And it talks about where he was at and kind of the thoughts he had about this tweet.
Mm-hmm.
So it says that Mattis was back in Richland, Washington, his hometown, when Trump blindsided the Pentagon with his August 2017 transgender ban tweet. Upon returning, Snodgrass writes, the defense secretary portrayed the Trump administration as doing a number on itself. He formed his right hand into a make believe pistol and pointed it towards his temple, saying, no one move or the hostage gets it.
Interesting.
Wow. So, doing something that's conservative to Mattis, old mad dog Mattis. Look at
God.
him. Yeah. He ain't never gonna turn on us. He's on the military. Don't let these military guys fool you. I was in the military for 10 years. I can assure you there were a lot of career officers in the military that I served under that I knew were just straight up liberals kissing Obama's butt every step of the way when I was in the military. Anyway, so the Obama's Iran nuclear deal, and this talks about how, well, let's go into a little bit. What was perhaps Mattis' most public act in defiance toward Trump is described as at an October 2017 Senate hearing on the Iran nuclear deal, a legacy of the Obama administration. The Pentagon chief asked if he thought remaining in the deal was in the best interest of national security. He paused for a few dramatic seconds before replying, yes, Senator, I do. And it was an open break from Trump's vow to dump the deal. Mattis had confided to me before the hearing that he worried about leaving the agreement under false pretenses. Snodgrass writes, adding, when America gives her word, she should keep it. So there's another instance where he feels like, I know better. And the thing you ran on, we're not going to do it. And see, he calls the conservative view of the Iran deal.
Mm-hmm.
He frames that as a false pretense.
Hmm.
So that tells you who he is. This
Mm-hmm.
is who this person is. And it's fine to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
But why would you sign on to be in the Trump administration knowing that you feel this way
Mm-hmm.
when he ran the entire time against the nuclear deal?
Mm-hmm.
You knew what Republicans were about. We were an open book on the nuclear deal.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't some big secret. Like he
Mm-hmm.
popped out and said, surprise, I'm not for the nuclear deal. And everyone was like, whoa, hold the crap. What's going on with that?
Mm-hmm.
But and this is the most shocking part of this whole thing, and then we'll try to talk about some of this a little bit further. Um, at the last one, they talk about the media going easy on him at different parts of him being in the administration and him being on the board at Theranos. It was a startup that ended up being like $1 billion scam for the most part. You guys can look into that further. It's a big can of worms to go into right now. But anyway, they talk about all that, and they talk about why they never went after him. And this is kind of what he says in the book, the man writing the tell-all. Look, at the end of the day, we are all Americans, Snodgrass quotes Lou Boldis replying, if Mattis goes, who's left? There are things we wish were different in their relationship with Mattis, but he's defending the nation in more ways than one, and we all know that. And he wasn't talking about defending America. He was talking about, this is a media guy saying that the reason we didn't go after Mattis in the media is because
Mm-hmm.
he's defending the nation. So to them, Trump is outside of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
We are outside of the nation.
Mm-hmm.
The nation is the left. The nation
Mm-hmm.
is the Democrat Party.
Mm-hmm.
He's defending the true nation and the true will, and that's the Obama agenda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
that's the mission of these people. Their mission is to defy Trump, to leak, so first you defy Trump. He tells you to do something, then you don't do it, and then he tweets something out and it forces you to do it. So you delay. You do some kind of study
Mm-hmm.
to lengthen it out. And if that doesn't work, then you openly defy him any way you can, or you just quit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened with Mattis.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just the progression, the arc of a deep state person that was in the
Mhm.
administration. There were a lot of them. Rex Tillerson was one of them.
Mhm.
I didn't want to believe that all these people would be that way.
Mhm.
Because like I said before, you said Trump, he's kind of a bull, but he tells you what he wants to do and what he
Mhm.
intends to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing. He's an open book.
Mhm.
He tells you how he feels. Like
Mhm.
you ask him, "What do you think about this thing?" And he'll tell you, "I think this about it and that about it." He's gonna tell you. There's
Mhm.
no gray area with him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that one of the things that I've noticed in with conservatives over the past 3 years is this, and that is, um, I love the phrase Trump era. It strikes fear in the hearts of so many when they hear that. But during this Trump era, one of the dynamics of his presidency that I think is actually fascinating is that once again it has forced people. Okay, these are people that have been the darlings of the Republican Party. They've
Yes.
been the darlings of, even of conservative movements, of grassroots movements, the military, all of the different aspects of, your political affiliation. And yet, here comes Trump. Okay, who is was not the expectation of many, including many in the Republican Party who are a part of the GOP, comes in, wins the presidency, and now everyone's terrified because no one really knows what he's going to do. But at the same time, they're terrified because Trump basically says whatever it is that he's going to do and then he tries to
And
do
they're
it.
like, "Oh my
And then
gosh,
they
is he
act like
gonna
they're
do
shocked
it?"
about that.
Yeah.
So, regardless if you agree with Trump or disagree with Trump, regardless of how you even feel about someone like Mattis, the bottom line is that we all know that at the end of the day, Trump's presidency has proven to expose people, whether it's the smallest thing that they did or the largest thing that they did. It's exposed really where people are. It's exposed, really, I believe, how people have been operating in the back corridors of Washington for years.
Yes. And why we
And
can't ever get anything
yeah,
done.
and why we can't ever get anything done. So this is not about. I get really irritated when I constantly hear conservatives go on and on about you're attacking this person and you're whatever. No, we're talking about the truth here. So if the truth annoys you, then go back to putting your head back in the sand with the rest of the Republican Party and pretend that Trump's this big bully and that everybody that we have adored in the Republican Party for years, they're all for us. No, they're all still once again waiting for that spine to come in the mail. Okay. So what I'm saying is that Trump's presidency can either open your eyes to something or you're going to continue to put your head in the sand when it comes to people that you've been taught mindlessly to just follow. We accuse the left constantly of following rhetoric and following policies and following, the woke philosophies that have now been created, blindly. Oh, they're just blind sheep. How are we any different when we're following along with things like this and we're not allowing ourselves to question things? Why is it that these types of people are being exposed for really what they are? Now, again, this doesn't necessarily make, Mattis some deep conspirator or whatever. But I think it reveals what's really been in people's hearts. It
Yeah.
reveals how they've governed. It's revealed
Um
who they've been about.
and it also reveals that something that I've said for a long time is that a lot of times conservatives will say, "Oh, well, this person is just scared and he's a squish and the media scared him." A lot of these people aren't scared.
No,
It's who they are.
no.
He's not scared.
Especially because the
He
media
didn't
was backing him.
he didn't do this because he was scared. He
Hmm.
didn't do this because he had a no spine.
Hmm.
Mattis is it's
Oh, I was
I think we can
referring
all
to the rest of the
yeah,
Republicans.
I think we can all agree that Mattis is not a spineless
No,
person.
he's
He's
not a
a
spineless guy.
yeah.
I don't
Anyway,
believe that for a minute.
no, this is what he believes.
Hmm.
He believes that the Obama agenda is
Hmm.
the agenda.
Hmm.
He believes that the Trump agenda and the Republican agenda, he thinks that that is not in the best interest of America. The best interest of America is having the Obama agenda, i.e., having the Democrat agenda.
Hmm.
So he's going to do what he has to do. If anything, he has a strong spine because he's willing to go against the president of the United States,
Hmm.
duly elected by the country. by the country's voters. He's willing to go against a conservative,
Mhm.
a Republican majority in the House and the Senate.
Mhm.
He's willing to do all these different things and to break the rules and defy things, and not knowing he will never be held accountable in
Yep.
any way.
Yep.
And you know, that's just pretty much it.
Well, regardless if you like Trump or hate him, the bottom line is that the kind of changes that have come with his presidency has been, in my opinion, just again fascinating to watch. So it's a good time to pay attention to what's going on in Washington. It's a good time to pay attention what's going on though, as far as people that we've been following for years. So let us know what you think in the comments of this video. Let us know what you think. Message us and let us know your thoughts about Mattis. And if you disagree, we would also like to hear from you. So let us know, guys. Until next time.